All right, guys, welcome back to the morning market mixer. We've been live for the whole of March. This is the last day of March. Surprising, time's gone really fast, but it's been a really cool experience for me. We're going to ask for feedback today. I've been asking for feedback for the last few days. It'd be really helpful if you can give us some feedback, so I'll give you some more information on how to do that in a little bit here. For you guys that haven't met me yet, haven't met me throughout the whole of March, my name is Russell Barbour. I've been trading since 2012. Lost a lot of money chasing the market back in 2012, 2013. Lost about $20,000 of a trading account, which had about $30,000 in it. And really spent the next few years over trading, oversizing, trying to be right all the time. And really the turning point came for me back in the COVID times when SPY 0 DTE became extremely popular. And so now I really focus just on intraday SPY options, in particular 0 DTE, just looking at one high quality setup per day with really well-defined entries, exits, and really strict risk management on the trades. So today, for the final time, maybe, depending on your guys' feedback, the platforms that I use is TradingView. So TradingView is an amazing charting program, completely free. There are some premium upgrades to it, but you can get away with using the free version for the most part. Unless you're looking for custom timeframes or something like that, TradingView is awesome. Look at Earnings Hub for earnings and news, earningshub.com. SPY levels that I get are from barchart.com and my own proprietary levels. And we have this cheat sheet at TradeThirsty /MMM, which we've been sharing throughout the whole of March here. So let me just put the cheat sheet in the chat here so you guys can go and get it if you're still interested in the trading strategy and kind of the basics of what I've been doing for March here. So there's the link. You can also scan the QR code that's on the screen right now. That'll take you to the cheat sheet, which is right here. And so it basically just goes through what 0 DTE trading is for people that aren't too sure. It stands for 0 days to expiration, which are option contracts that expire the same day that they're traded. And you can use them to capitalize on short-term price movements within a single trading session. They lose value pretty quickly, unfortunately, due to theta decay, which means that your strategy has to be very precise on timing, make sure that you have momentum in your favor, and you're looking for volatility-based scalps, essentially. The quicker, the better to avoid time decay going against you. So because they expire the same day, small movements in an underlying asset like SPY create large percentages of gains or losses really quickly. And so this can be very attractive for people that are looking for fast, large percentage gains. But it's a double-edged sword. You end up having large losses as well fairly quickly. So you got to be very careful, do it properly. The strategy that I use works in markets that are both going up and going down. And you can basically use it for any market as long as there's a direction that's picked. So the hardest part is defining the opening range and looking for an actual confirmed breakout or breakdown of the opening range, and using VWAP, some level structures, and volume and candle formation. So liquidity is extremely important in 0 DTE trading. That's why we do SPYs. You can also do Qs, any major index, ETF, has tight spreads and fast order execution. But you have to have good risk management, so you have to have really good position sizing in terms of your percent of your account. I typically use about 3% of my account per position. You want predefined stops, strict daily stop loss limits to avoid large drawdowns. You've got to stay in the game long enough for your statistical edge to actually play out. So it's a huge thing. So this is basically what I do for the day. I start preparing about 15-20 minutes before I go live on these sessions. I look at previous day high and low, pre-market levels, any news that's coming out. Basically news and opening volatility. Look at the opening range breakout in the first 30-minute candle. So I draw those lines in on the charts, as you'll see as we go through today. And so, yeah, so we look at how tight the range is, and whether it's going to likely be a trending day or if it's likely going to be a choppy day. So, yeah, pretty easy strategy. We'll go into it in more detail as we go on towards the rest of the session. SPY, of course, is an ETF, exchange-traded fund. It tracks the S&P 500 with over 500 stocks across 11 sectors. It was launched in 1993, which makes it the first US ETF ever listed, and it's number one in liquidity among some of the most traded ETFs globally. So a lot of liquidity for doing the zero DTE trades. So that makes it fantastic for that. So here's an agenda for today. I'm going to go through our premium SPY ATM alert service very briefly, just for you guys that haven't heard about it yet. Amazing service, really worth joining. Hopefully you guys sign up. I'll give you a link for that in just a little bit here. I'm going to look at any overnight market news, any earnings, potential earnings that could cause some problems for us. I'm going to look at market direction using the opening range and VWAP. I'm going to look at key intraday levels on SPY, to look at the expected move, max intraday moves, and volatility, and then look for any trade opportunities if there are any later on in the session. So normally at this point I show the previous day's SPY ATM, which is this single trade at 10:30 Eastern time most days. But today, since we're just wrapping up all this, I wanted to make sure that I give you guys the opportunity to come and join us at SPY ATM. So the URL that's on your screen right now, stockalertsreview.com/SPY ATM _T at the end. I'll post that link into the chat for you guys. If you're watching the replay, hopefully this is in the description for you, in the description below. So that's the SPY ATM link. Let's go and look at the landing page for SPY ATM. Oh, by the way, the trade actually was a winner yesterday as well. So we have about an 80% win rate on these SPY ATM trades. So we had 124% ROI in 2024, and then 102% in 2025, which is awesome. And so these, like I said, are traded daily, alerted at 10:30 Eastern time. Here's the data for 2024. So pretty linear. We did 230 odd trades, $2,500 account growth on a $2,000 account, which is really nice. 102% in 2025, and that was a really nice account growth from about $2,000 to $4,000 by the end of the year, which is really good. And then this year we're up about 15%, which isn't bad given that the market is down 3%, and we're up 15%. So you can see these aren't always perfectly linear. There can be periods of time where we don't make as much, and then big periods of growth in the equity curve. So how does it work? It's very simple. We do a zero DTE SPY option, either a simple call or put daily at 10:30 Eastern time. It's alerted on Discord. You can do futures trades using these. The average time is about 20 minutes, although recently it's been a lot faster, in more like 5 minutes. And you get given the option strike price, when to buy, what stop loss and take profit target is up the particular trade. And yeah, so it's a really good system. People love it. Here's a bunch of testimonials. People love this system. It's only $150 a month. The best deal is $300 per quarter though. So I definitely check that one out. It gives you plenty of time to evaluate, maybe do some paper trading for a month or so. So yeah, so that's SPY ATM. Again, the link is in the chat or the description. Definitely come and check it out if you're interested in the zero DTE trade, which wins about 80% of the time, and actually is a profitable strategy over many years of testing. All right, with that, let's get into some of the overnight market news. There's not a lot. The first one, though, is geopolitical optimism, which is the main driver. So the markets are reacting to signs of potential progress in the US around tensions, with talks of negotiations improving sentiment. So that's part of the reason we're gapping up today. And so when geopolitical risk cools even slightly, equities tend to catch a bid pretty quickly. And so again, that's part of the reason we're gapping up today. Risk on momentum across assets. We're seeing strength not just in equities, but also in crypto and commodities. This broad participation signals traders are leaning risk on heading into the open, helping lift SPY, and that continued after the open as well. And so there is continued dip buying and positioning into the month end. So because we're right at the month end here, at the end of the quarter as well, you know, there's a lot of money coming in supporting equities. Combined with recent pullbacks, traders are stepping in early to position for continuation higher. So people are trying to buy the dip essentially. Job openings just happened. I'm not sure how it affected the market. I haven't looked yet. And then there's some Fed speakers at 12 noon and 3 p.m. today. No major earnings this week at all. So let's keep going. Okay, so let's go and start looking at charts here. So VIX is at 27.56. This is SPY on the daily, like we start every day. We've had this downtrend. This is an example of the old adage where it's up the stairs and then down the elevator. Our slope going up was much more gentle than our slope. We've got a death cross forming on a 50 and 100 SMA. We watched this happening in real time for the last couple of weeks. And now we have a very clear death cross forming right here. We're still below the 200 by quite a bit. We had a bit of a gap down yesterday, but as we've seen for the last few weeks, every time we test new lows in this downtrend, we tend to get a bounce back up the next day. And that's exactly what we're seeing today with the green candle so far, is that bounce. However, it's nowhere near coming close to breaking out of the downward channel, so there's nothing really exciting going on here. Just a typical rebound next day after testing previous lows. So that's pretty much what's happening on the daily chart. Like I said, VIX is at 27.5, so we're still elevated, but at least we're not in the 30s. Things get really scary often. And so let's look at VIX for a second here as well. So I'll just go over here. What's interesting about VIX is normally VIX spikes is what we see, and they're usually short-lived spikes, a week or so. And you can see it does this, and it's done this throughout the history very regularly. You see these types of sharp spikes. But with this war, we're really getting this gradual, slow spike. It's just slowly elevating, just kind of gradually. Sure, we had a spike here. I thought maybe we were done on our way back down. But nope, we've got a second wind here, and VIX is continuing to suggest that we have a lot of fear in the markets. All right, so let's see what else is going on SPY before we start looking for a potential trade. So I'm going to drop down from the daily to the 30-minute chart. And right here. So the system moved a little bit. The market moved a little bit after I marked up my opening range, so I'm just going to tighten that up again. Make sure I've really marked the top of this candle. So the green candle is the first 30 minutes. It was fairly it was pretty average. It was 0.6%. So pretty average opening range today. It was very tight to start with. I thought we were going to see one of the tightest opening ranges since I started doing these sessions. And then we just had this big bullish run for the next 10 minutes or so after I was looking at it. And now we're testing the top of the opening range here. So we're just flirting with it right here. We've wicked across it already. We have pushed down a little bit though, so it's going to make a trade a little unless we see a reversal pretty quickly. All right, so let's look at the SRX levels. These are levels that are based on options data. The levels prove to be very good. So it can really help for confluence to mark the levels on here. So here we are. So you can see we're right in the middle of R2. So potentially R2 will act as support here. We'll see. If not, the next downside would be 639.93, so significantly lower. And then we have to worry if we're looking for a downside breakout, which at the moment we're so far away from, not too worried about. We have significant support S1 and S2, these zones. These zones are really interesting. They change based on the volatility, so they're not fixed lines for support and resistance, they're zones. And so they get wider with high volatility and narrower with lower volatility. So those are the SRX levels on the chart as well here. Look at VWAP. So we know R2 is around 641.54, basically right here. We're above VWAP. We are pulling back down here a little bit though. Let's see, 5 minute. Let's move this back. So it looks like on the 5 minute we're finding support to 641.54. So it's pretty interesting that we're seeing support there. Let's hope that we can move back up and do a breakout above the top of the opening range here. I also marked on the expected moves as well, these red lines up here and then down here. That was based on the at the money straddle about 15 minutes before we go live. I found that to be pretty good for price targets for about an hour after we go live. All right, so we are actually breaking through R2 here on the 5 minute. Might mean that we just head back into no man's land here and then wait for a trade later on for a breakout or a breakdown below the opening range. Yeah, not much is going on at the moment. I'll try and stick around for a little bit more though, see if we get a push up. I doubt we get a big enough push down anytime soon though. We're pretty far above the bottom of the opening range. They're hovering around the top third. Anyway, while we're waiting for the market to do its thing, let's go back here. And remember I was mentioning about feedback. Well, the owner and founder of TradeThirsty, Jeanette, wants you guys, if you're watching this, to basically email her at Jeanette at TradeThirsty.com. So that's her email address, to email her and give her some feedback on sessions when you'd like to see in sessions like this going forward here. And so I'll post her email just for you guys in the chat here, Jeanette at TradeThirsty.com. There you go. And so you can email her and just say, hey, like, you know, tell her give her some feedback. Say, oh, well, the information that Russell was given was useful or wasn't useful. Try and just kind of think about what you'd like to give us feedback on in terms of the whole sessions that we've been doing for the whole of March. All right, so let's go back to the market here. I'm going to just prime up my Thinkorswim. I don't know if we get the breakout yet. Might be a little bit too soon. If it's coming, of course, it doesn't always have to come. So I'm thinking calls at the moment. It's because we're in the upper third or so. Obviously, I'm not taking this trade until we get a close above the top of the opening range convincingly. But what I like to do is, because things can move fast with 0 DTE, is I like to tee up my broker about, you know, just to get the contracts that I'm looking for put into Active Trader. So I love Active Trader. It's so good for these fast trades. I set up OCO orders for it, and then it's just a case of pull the trigger, mark it in with an OCO order in place for taking profits and stop loss. Anyway, at the moment I'm queuing up the 642 calls. Again, we're nowhere near a trade just yet, but I'm waiting for this to work out. If it does, then I'm just getting the Active Trader sorted out here. All right, so getting the calls loaded up to scalp mode. Let's see. So the contracts are at 210 or 212 at the moment. We'll see how that does in the next few minutes. Be nice to take a trade on the last day of March, but it's hard to time. I don't want to sit here without much to say while we wait for a potential trade. Let's look at the 1 minute, see what it's looking like here. Yeah, the 1 minute we're back to this level here. This R2 at 6454. It's kind of going side of promising there, but it didn't. It hasn't really yet got that momentum to the upside that we really need to see to play a breakout. What I found is with these sessions, like often the timing will be off by 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And by the time I go off air, the system, the market sets up for a move outside of the opening range. But yeah, for you guys who've been watching for the last few weeks, thank you very much for being here. And hopefully it's been informative for you guys. I've enjoyed doing it for sure. It's been a lot of fun. And it'd be just nice to hear back from anybody that's watching right now to see what you guys thought about the whole March Madness Morning Market Mixer series. So give a couple minutes here in case anybody wants to say hello, and then see if the market starts to work out here. We're below the 8 EMA, so it's not a very positive sign. The 8 EMA is this green and red line right here. So yeah, just give it a few minutes. Just going to clean up the chart here a little bit by taking off the SRX indicator. So I just drew a line roughly where the R2 was, just so we can keep an eye on that. But so far we're heading back down to VWAP here. It's unfortunate. I was hoping for a nice breakout to the upside. We'll give it another couple of minutes. Maybe we'll see a push. This is the page again. So jnet at TradeThirsty.com. If you guys want to give any feedback, it'd be greatly appreciated. A little bit of a push here. Like I said, I'll give it a couple of minutes. If we start to flirt with the breakout above the opening range, potentially start looking to take long calls on this. So far, kind of sideways action. It's frustrating. Nice buying up here on the 5-minute candle though. It's showing buyers are stepping in this long wick. So that was pretty nice. Only 1 minute left on this candle as well. So we'll see if it can close green. There we go. Bit of a push up to top of the opening range. One more nice 5-minute candle and it'll be potentially a trade to the upside. Sometimes when you're watching these candles, 1 minute can seem like an eternity. And you're looking for a potential close. Let's see. Okay, there we go. So it's closed. Okay, well, it looks like some time to work out, so I think I'm going to call it a day. Again, thanks for everybody who's been listening for the whole of March. Hopefully you've enjoyed this, and hopefully